Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another Fright Night Friday Blu-ray update. Today, picked up a few new collector's editions from Scream Factory. Yeah, well, got quite a bit to cover with them, so let's get right into it. New collector's editions from Scream Factory, today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. So this first one is not horror, but it's, kind of low budget from the days of direct-to-VHS releases here in North America and stuff like that. And still kind of fits in with the genre film enthusiast type stuff. Now, a while back, Scream Factory tried out the Twilight Time thing, where they put out a whole bunch of releases that had very limited runs, and once they were gone, they were gone. Now, I got all but one of them, because this particular one sold out so fast that I just missed out on it. But so I snagged all the other ones. In case you're wondering what the other ones were, there was the Velvet Vampire, Time Walker, and Message from Space. They didn't do very many, but the thing about these was they were limited to 1,000 units. Twilight Time, on the other hand, would always do 3,000 units for theirs, so a little bit more. They would still sell out quite quickly. So a lot of fans felt that 1,000 units was too low and made it too limited. But anyway, luckily the other three didn't sell as well. I guess they were a little bit too niche, so I was able to snag them before they were gone. But there was this one in particular. It was a double feature, and it just disappeared almost as soon as it went up for sale. But then, so much for when it's gone, Scream Factory brought it back for a limited time. No indication this time as to how many copies they were making, but they brought it back. And this time around, I was not going to miss it, so I got it. I'm, of course, talking about the Blu-ray double feature of Deathstalker and Deathstalker 2. Yeah, sort of, low-budget Conan wannabe kind of sword and sorcery fare. I vaguely remember seeing these like years and years and years ago, so I've been wanting to check them out again. Of course, since then, I've become a huge fan of Conan and the sword and sandal, peplum genre and gladiator movies and things like that. Love all that stuff. So, definitely wanted to check this out and kind of reevaluate. There was actually 4 Deathstalker movies. Sadly, only the first 2 are available on Blu-ray here. I think number 3 or 4 is available on DVD, but good luck getting a hold of it. Yeah, maybe Scream Factory will get a hold of the other 2 and we can complete our Deathstalker set at some point. But yeah, let's take a brief look here and just see what all is on here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I love these painted covers. Like, they really feel like sort of pulp, sword and sorcery paperback covers almost. It's great stuff. Go. And as you can see, we actually get a few extras for each movie, which is quite nice. And if we crack it open here, yeah, not much inside. Discard is just the logos, and then inside we just have some photos from the movies, basically. Just give you a better look there. But that said, I'm just glad to have this because it was kind of annoying with it being the one limited edition that I missed out on. So it's great to finally have it in the collection. The movies themselves have been available on DVD for quite some time. There's actually a quadruple feature pack from Shout Factory that's been available for a while, which I think you can still get. And it has these two movies as well. But this is the only Blu-ray release of them. So yeah, I'm definitely glad that they brought it back for a little while. And there you go. So not a bad little double feature disc there. I'm just glad to finally have it because it always kind of annoyed me that I had all but one of the limited editions that they put out. So yeah, very cool to finally have this in the collection after so long. Next up, some more standard horror fare from Scream Factory. Some collector's editions. So first up we have April Fool's Day, which was from 1986. Now, I remember seeing this back when it was new, and I really liked it. It was one of the first kind of slasher movies that I watched all the way through, like that I have a memory of watching all the way through. Prior to that, I had seen bits and pieces of other slasher movies, like I'd seen bits of the first Friday the 13th, I'd seen bits of the original Prom Night, but I think this was one of the first, if not the first, slasher movie that I actually watched from beginning to end. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of fun. It has kind of a novel twist on the slasher genre that I hadn't really seen or heard of being done before. So, yeah, it kind of stuck with me, and I always really liked it. And I'd been wanting to see it again for a really long time. And then just recently, Scream Factory put out this nice collector's edition of it. So, yeah, they did a remake of this as well. So, I still haven't watched the remake because I wanted to rewatch the original first. So, I think what I'm going to do, probably as a Halloween review at some point, is do a double bill of April Fool's Day, the original, and the remake. Kind of like what I've done with some other movies in the past. Like you guys may, well, speaking of Prom Night, I did Prom Night and then the Prom Night remake. I did Carrie and one of the Carrie remakes, or the more recent Carrie remake. Things like that. So I'll do something like that at some point, and we'll take a look at both versions of April Fool's Day. For now, let's check out the packaging and extras. And here we go. As always, the collector's edition has two different covers, which I'll show you in a second here. And as always, what I do is I always flip the keep case cover around to the original poster art. And there we go. Very nice. Is it different? Oh no, it's actually the same main picture and one different. Oh no, and then it's, I see, it's one picture here, two pictures here on the slipcover. So very slight difference there. And then if we look inside, it's basically the same packaging for the alternate cover, exactly the same as what's on the slipcover. That's why I flip it around. So I like to have the alternate cover on the keep case. It's one of the reasons I like to get the slipcovers with these collector's editions, is so I can basically have both cover arts, right? So we have the original poster art, and then the newly commissioned painted cover for the slipcover, which is very cool. So there you go. As always, a very nice, very snazzy collector's edition from Scream Factory. Some very good stuff in there. Next up, this is a reacquisition and a bit of an upgrade as well, because it's a lovely special edition from Scream Factory. I had the previous Blu-ray release of this, and I did a very short review of the movie many years ago. Really liked the movie, really liked that old Blu-ray of it, and foolishly sold it. Thinking, oh, it's available everywhere, I'll just get it again at some point. And then it went out of print. And then it skyrocketed in price. And I was like, I'm just never going to get this again. And then Scream Factory to the rescue. They did not only a re-release, but a beautiful deluxe re-release with 2 different cuts of the movie, loads of extras, and fully restored. I am, of course, talking about the Canadian slasher classic, My Bloody Valentine. Yes. Since then, I've also picked up the remake of this one, which I also have not watched yet because I wanted to rewatch the first one. So we'll probably do that as a Halloween review at some point, too. So this is from 1981. Now, this is interesting because the original Blu-ray release had the restored, uncut version, where this movie's kind of notorious for its censorship, like what was censored for its original theatrical release. They did all these beautiful practical effects and makeup effects for the kill scenes, and almost all of it was cut out of the theatrical film, so you hardly see any actual gore in the theatrical cut. So a few years back, when they did the original Blu-ray release, they actually recovered as much of that deleted footage as they possibly could and slotted it all back in. Now, the interesting thing was that footage was not in the greatest of shape. It was from 35mm film prints, so the detail was there, but the film was not in great condition. So what tended to happen was, as you're watching the movie, anytime there's like a kill scene, it would get all scratchy and janky and grindhousey, which I thought kind of added to the horror aspect of it. It's like anytime the picture quality would get all scratchy, you knew you were about to see something really gory. And, well, apparently for this edition, they actually went to all the trouble of restoring and cleaning up all of that footage so it all matches now. So this is not only the most complete version of My Bloody Valentine ever, but it's also the best it's ever looked, bar none. So apparently they were able to restore all of the kill scenes, all of the gore, except for one scene. And that's it. So there was one scene they couldn't find the footage for, and presumably it's lost forever by this point. But hey, that's not too bad, considering they restored quite a bit of stuff here. So this edition actually includes both cuts, which is something that the previous Blu-ray edition did not. So this actually does have the theatrical version as well. And to give you some idea, yeah, the theatrical version is 90 minutes. The uncut version is 93 minutes. They cut a full 3 minutes of footage out of there, and mostly effects and gore footage. So let's take a quick look at the packaging and the extras. So glad to finally have this movie back in the collection. I've been kicking myself for years for selling the old Blu-ray release, but it's great to finally have this back. And as you can see, it does, as I said, include both cuts, and the unrated version is fully restored, which is great. So there's the new cover, and there's the original cover. And then, yeah. And I think this is completely different. Yeah, it's different artwork on the backs there, which is interesting. And if we open it up, basically 2 discs. Just spin these around here. Yeah, so we got theatrical version and uncut version. Needless to say, I will only ever be watching the uncut version because got to enjoy all those beautiful practical makeup and prosthetic effects in all their gory glory. So there you go. I'm sure you'll agree, quite an upgrade over the old Blu-ray edition. As far as I know, all of the extras are ported over. I don't know. It doesn't list a lot of special features on the back, but as we know from experience, Scream Factory has a tendency not to list all the special features on the back, and then when you pop the disc in, you get a nice surprise of a whole bunch of other stuff that's on there. So I'm hoping that all of the stuff from the previous release is on there. As I recall, the original Blu-ray release actually had a pretty nice featurette about the making of the movie and talking about the special effects and such, and how it was one of the earlier examples. I mean, this was only a year after the original Friday the 13th, and it was really at a period where makeup and prosthetic effects and whatnot were really becoming more advanced, so they could do a lot more with them for horror movies than they had ever been able to do before. And this is one of the earlier examples of that, so definitely good to see. So one more, this is actually quite an upgrade from the old just kind of plain Jane Blu-ray release that I picked up a few years ago. And again, this is a case of Scream Factory to the rescue, bringing us the most definitive edition of the movie we've ever had. We have the special collector's edition of 1979's Dracula, starring Frank Langella. Now, this really is the most deluxe edition we've ever had of this movie, because some of you may be aware that the version we've had on home video for years has been the so-called color desaturated version, where the color has been toned down to the point where it's almost black and white. Now, when Dracula was shown in theaters, it was actually shown in Technicolor, just in blazing, vibrant Technicolor. But for whatever reason, at the behest of the director, I guess, he preferred to have a desaturated version. He wanted to feel more like the Universal Monsters movies. I think ideally he would have wanted to do it just in black and white with maybe red for the blood, I think was the idea. But the studio wanted him to shoot it in color, and they released it in color. But then it was in the early 90s when the home video version came out. They put it out on Laserdisc and DVD with this desaturated color palette, which looks very, very muted. And it has its own charm about it. You can see what he's going for with it. That said, the cool thing about this Scream Factory edition is it actually includes, for the first time ever on home video, certainly the first time in high definition, the Technicolor version. Yeah, so you can actually see it as it appeared in theaters with the full blazing Technicolor. And, honestly, it's a pretty vibrant color palette in this, and it looks really good in Technicolor. So yeah, needless to say, as soon as I got this, I watched the Technicolor version, because I've never seen that version before. I've only ever seen the desaturated version. And in terms of the picture quality, the desaturated version is sharper. I just think it's got a better available print. The Technicolor version seemed a little bit soft in places, but that's the trade-off. I guess there's not as many prints out there of that version, or at least not as high quality as the desaturated version. So whatever the case may be, it's just great to finally be able to see the full blazing color version as it appeared in theaters. And this is just a beautiful film generally, and it's great to finally have it in a properly deluxe version. So let's take a quick look here, and we'll see what kind of goodies we've got and what the packaging looks like. I have to be honest, I'm not wild about the sort of greenish motif for the cover here. I would have preferred something, I don't know, maybe more blues and purples and reds, but whatever. I'm picky, what can I say? And there we go. Very nice. The cinematography in this movie is beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing. So then if we slide it out, we get the gorgeous original poster art. Very sensual, very dreamlike. It's very good. And there we go. And I think again we have different we have different artwork for the big picture anyway. And there we go. So then if we open it up, we have 2 discs, much like My Bloody Valentine. Each cut is given its own disc. So yeah, so the director's edition, the 1991 director's edition, is the muted color, or the desaturated color, and the 1979 theatrical version is the Technicolor version. So there you go. Director John Badham actually has what I think is a very diplomatic intro, which appears before both versions of the film, where he encourages the viewer to make up their own mind about which one they prefer, the Technicolor or desaturated. And he even says that they themselves weren't quite sure which one they wanted to go with, so they just kind of did both. But I'm pretty sure that he prefers the desaturated because it's closer to what he wanted. But I like that his intro was so diplomatic, urging the viewer to make up their own mind, rather than sort of imposing his vision upon the viewer, as it were. But, as he said, make up your own mind. I like the Technicolor version, personally. I just wish it had the same detail level as the the desaturated version. But otherwise, can't really complain. Glad to finally have both versions. And there you go. So, very, very nice addition. And, I mean, come on. Frank Langella is easily one of the sexiest Draculas ever to grace the screen. So, there you go. So, some very nice additions to the collection. And, as always, if you'd like to add any of these to your collection, I will include Amazon links in the description down below. And, of course, using my links does help to support the show. I can't make any promises on this one because it was a limited edition. If I find an Amazon link, I'll post it. As to what kind of price you're going to find on it, I couldn't even hazard a guess. All I know is the last time it disappeared from availability, it skyrocketed in price. So, you know, if it's one you want, keep an eye out for a good deal. If it's one you don't care about, then hey, no harm done. Anyway, that is it for this week. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time for another Fright Night Friday Blu-ray update. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors. Be sure to catch me on Twitch. I stream just about every day. And I'll see you next time. Until then, sayonara.